We used to know them as the Wrecking Crew. Let's talk Texas A&M defense with Andrew Heddersley from 247 Sports on Gig 'em. Got to join him for the complete breakdown on Texas A&M football as we get set for spring practice. And again, we're talking defense. Andrew, how's it going today?
Good, and you, Mark? Yeah, this is
well.
Kind of defense wins championships, right? So this is the side of the ball it starts on.
That's what they tell us, and it starts on the defensive line, of course, in the trenches. And of course, a couple 5-stars come in, and there were already waves of talent on campus. However, Leal's gone, Peavy's gone, Clemens gone, Johnson gone. A lot of talent has left for the NFL draft.
It's certainly probably not going to be as strong as it was this past year. That was kind of the strength of the team, and it's not easy to replace a guy like DeMarvin Leal. And I thought Jaden Peavy was really solid too. Maybe didn't put up the biggest numbers, but was really just a solid anchor you could rely on. And Michael Clemens also really came on, and Tyree Johnson as well was another guy that certainly came on late in the year, especially. But they've still got a talent group there. They've kind of loaded up at that position over the past couple of years. Obviously, the guys we've covered like Shamar Stewart and Walter Nolan, Anthony Lucas and Gabriel Brown-Lodindi are guys that, when you look ahead to this fall, I think can potentially make an immediate impact. And then you've still got a lot of guys on campus. Shamar Turner was a guy that was a huge target for them in the 2021 class, and saw action both. He's kind of a guy that they recruited in the same mold as DeMarvin Leal, that could play a little bit inside, could play a little outside. Tamise Adelaide was another one that they are really, really high on. He redshirted last year, but I think they're certainly hoping to get something out of him this year. And then you're looking at some of those other guys that have kind of been on campus now for a year. Obviously, McKinley Jackson is back. And then you look at guys like Fadil Diggs and Jazion Harris and Isaiah Rakes, Elijah Judy. Those are all guys that now have been on campus for a year that I think they're hoping take that next step, especially this spring, and take advantage of their opportunities here.
Andrew, this was the third-ranked defense in the SEC in 2021. It was the top-ranked pass defense in 2021 in the SEC, but against the run, the worst performance in yards per game under Mike Elko during his time there, and that kind of points to the linebackers to a certain extent. They're really good players. People are expecting them to maybe step up in the production, though.
Yeah, I think this is probably the one area, if you ask any A&M fan, they would tell you it's kind of the concern of the defense and where they do want to see better play. There are a lot of guys back. You're going to have to replace Aaron Hansford, and that's kind of the big task for this offseason. But you've still got Andre White and Edgerrin Cooper are two guys that I think need to step up into kind of those leadership roles. Really high on just the athleticism that Edgerrin Cooper has, and what he brings to the table. I think that's a guy that could certainly take another step forward now as he kind of moves into his next year. And then you still got guys like Chris Russell and Terrion Lee. But no question, it's an area that one of the things I think you heard a lot last year was Jimbo Fisher talked about them over pursuing and kind of getting out of their rush lanes and being a little bit undisciplined. And so we'll see kind of where DJ Durkin can make an impact as well in his first season, if he can kind of have more success stopping the run, because that was kind of the one weakness. And it starts up the middle as well. You need better play out of the defensive tackles and kind of right in the interior, getting a bit of penetration, and then kind of it just needs to come together around that as well.
Talking up Texas A&M, we got Andrew Heddersley on the line, as we typically do, from 247 Sports. So join him right there, Gig 'em 247, to break down Texas A&M football as we head toward, of course, spring practice with the Aggies. Looking at the defense unit by unit, we've checked out the defensive line and the linebackers. Secondary looked like at cornerback that there's a lot of players there, a lot of extremely talented players, but the injury bug hit the cornerback position pretty hard in 2021. And then at safety, Damani Richardson, of course, is back.
Yeah, so this is going to be, I think, probably one of the strengths of the team, honestly, heading into next year, because injuries did kind of hit this group hard, but Tyreek Chappelle stepped in and got some really valuable experience. I think he was one of the real bright spots of last year, and just what he was able to do, and so now he's heading into his sophomore year. You've still got Jalen Jones back. Who now is kind of one of the more experienced guys in that room, along with Damani Richardson. He's been on campus now for 2 years playing. And so he brings a lot of experience to the table. And then you've got Deuce Harmon, who I know A&M is really, really high on. Saw some action last year. Battled some injuries. He was one of those guys that battled some injuries. So he's got to get healthy and get back up to speed. And then, I think everybody's just, if there's a guy that everybody just can't wait to see kind of step in, is Antonio Johnson, and just what he was able to do last year. I think he's a natural guy to kind of step into where Leon O'Neal was and play alongside Damani Richardson. And I think he's a guy that people just can't wait to see. And Jordan Gilbert is another guy that saw some action last year and kind of made a good impression. And that's not even taking into account the freshmen who are coming in. Bryce Anderson's a guy who's already on campus, could potentially fill in that slot nickelback role and play a little bit down there. Guys like Denver Harris, who was obviously one of the more coveted players in the 2022 class, strikes you as a guy that could come in and also make an impact right away. They've got a lot of bodies in that room. A guy like Bobby Taylor, Jacoby Matthews, Smoke Bowie. They've got a lot of tremendous athletes. They've really upgraded the athleticism in that room, and I think that's a position that's turning into an area of strength. But it's been a target too, and they've tried to add as many versatile pieces as they could, and guys that can play multiple positions. And in today's day and age, with these spread offenses and just how much speed you have to contend with on a weekly basis, I think A&M's really tried to upgrade that room.
Yeah, you mentioned Antonio Johnson. My goodness, 79 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, had a sack, had a pick, 5 passes defensed, filled up the box score, and was second on the team to Aaron Hansford in total tackles. Only 10
everywhere.
Behind. Absolutely.
He was everywhere. And I was listening to an interview earlier this week that Mike Elko was doing. And he just absolutely raved about Antonio Johnson and how lucky he was to get to coach him and just the impact that he made. He did not have enough good things to say about him and just continued on. And you could tell just how highly everybody in that room thinks of him. Called him an extremely special player with his instincts. And he's a guy I think that heading into next year still has more to grow, and really excited to see what he kind of does this spring.
Andrew, as we look at the special teams units, you got Seth Small, hit 22 of 27. He hit a lot of game winners over the course of 2 seasons. Of course, he's most famously going to be remembered for the game winner against Alabama, hit one against Florida the year before, 22 of 27. As I mentioned, he moves on to the NFL. Nick Constantino was a top 15 punter, 46-plus yard average, but Small's gone, Constantino back, may need a kick or two to ice a game or pull one out. So what's the competition look like there?
Yeah, so they've got they're obviously excited about having Nick Constantino back, and they've had real success at the punter position just with some of those guys like Braden Mann that they've had in the past as well. Caden Davis is still a guy that's back, and they've also got Ethan Muxolski, who comes out of the Seattle, Washington area, and Jimbo Fisher just loves him. He talked about he loves the way it came off his foot, and just what he's able to do on kickoffs too. So I think they're really excited about him. He kicked in the All-American Bowl, and he's going to kind of step in and be able to kind of bridge that gap. And then you've got Caden Davis as well, kind of still in that room and kind of the veteran now. And we'll see them battle it out probably this summer.
How is the Texas A&M special teams stacked up the last couple of years?
Yes, I think they've been pretty good. They've got a really reliable guy, to be honest, in Ananias Smith that they've kind of turned to, and Moose Muhammad has been there as well. He returned some punts last year as well, and so they've got two sure-handed guys there, and then you've got a guy that we saw it against Alabama can change a game in a hurry, in Devon Achane, and we'll see. I mean, he's going to obviously be stepping up into a leadership role, or into the lead back role this year. So we'll see what that kind of means for kickoff returns and things like that. But I think that's still a guy he's such a game-changing weapon. It wouldn't be a surprise to see him continue to return kickoffs. And then you've also got, I'm interested to see if they put Smoke Bowie back on kickoffs. Tremendous athlete. He can absolutely fly. And so, if they want to be a little more cautious with Devon Achane, which would be completely understandable, maybe they throw Smoke Bowie back on punts and kickoff returns to try to get him on the field too, and take advantage of his speed. So I think they're in a good spot. And it's an area that they emphasize heavily. Even last year when the offense was struggling, they really felt like they had a strong special teams and could flip the field and manage field position. That's just something Jimbo Fisher emphasizes on a weekly basis.
Always enjoyed the conversation on Texas A&M football with Andrew Hattersley. He's kind enough to join us on a regular basis and break down the Aggies. You can catch him on Gig'em 247 Sports. Please hit the like button. Do us a favor. Subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. We also have a Discord that we just opened this week for all college football fans. We had about 20 people sign up initially. So go to Patreon, search MarkRogersTV. We got a Discord there. Again, you can talk college football nonstop 24/7. I jump in there every day and see what's going on as well. Andrew, got to ask you this. Okay, I don't know that there's a program in the country that has as much pressure on it. And I'm going to take out Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, because they've been, for the most part, pulling through and getting to the playoffs, and Oklahoma now with a new coach. But now that Jimbo Fisher is entering a fifth season with all the resources and everything that's been poured into this program, and the recruiting classes that have been ridiculously good. And of course, this latest one is the creme de la creme of all time. Now they're only going to have so much impact initially. We're going to have to wait a couple of years to see the total impact. But I just think that this program, everybody's waiting across college football for them just to break through and have a monster season, which to me, especially considering the division, let's say Alabama's Alabama and they go undefeated or maybe lose one game, not necessarily the Texas A&M's going to win the SEC, but they are going to strongly compete for it. And maybe the only difference between them getting to Atlanta and not is some kind of barn burner against Bama, and otherwise they show themselves to be a top 5 or 6 team in the country.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, but they, the goal has been, and what they've sold recruits on is having the chance to come be the first to get to that college football playoff and get over the hump. And so I do think the expectations are high. They've set them high. This recruiting class is going to do nothing to kind of quell that anticipation and those expectations. And, they're building towards it. They need to get better in a couple key areas. They obviously need to get better and more consistent offensively. Kind of need to get, I would say, strong play at the quarterback position. They're looking to really solve that position, whether it's Max Johnson or Haynes King or it's Connor Wigman when he's ready to go. I think the expectations are high, and they've invested in this football program from a coaching standpoint, from resources, analysts, from every angle. Now I do think they want to become a consistent contender and win 10 games on a consistent basis, be in the mix, be in the conversation. And I think that's kind of where the expectation is. I don't think anybody's expecting them to consistently be, right up there yet with the Alabamas and Georgias, but I think they want to be in the conversation for the college football playoff. 8-4 was certainly a disappointment. I don't think there's any, doubt about it. That's not where they want to be. And but being a consistent top 10 program and competing for the college football playoff and being in the conversation, I think is exactly where they want to be.
Andrew, we always appreciate the time and appreciate you stopping by. Love your work, and everybody head on over to Gig'em 247. Check out Andrew and the rest of the staff there.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you.